I need this and this to craft this item, right? So I need leather and cloth. I can quickly go grab some leather, I can go grab some cloth, and now I'm ready to go make bags. Anyways, you don't have to do it that way. It's just nice for my own OCD organization self to have everything in its place and a place for everything. I end cap the resource rows here with a chest as well because I like to put the laborer books that I use for gathering with that associated resource. So I've got my skinning knives here. I don't actually ever use gathering gear anymore, but should you so choose, I also in the past have put my gathering gear in these chests and the journals associated so that way I don't forget to take journals when I go out gathering. So that's a quick overview on my storage system, but we're actually here to talk about laborers, so let's do that. I've got on my main island a Morgana box with all my journals. We're looking pretty slim pickings these days. I haven't filled a whole lot of journals as much as I need to, so I've spent more silver than I probably should buying them off the market, but all my extra ones go there. Really nice, quick, easy grab. And then here's the daily journals we run. We've got 7.5 million, almost 7.6 in daily, mostly crafting journals, but I do have a little quad set of resource journals as well. I do have two alternate characters that I dedicate to refining, so having the added tier 6 resources that I don't have to actually go out and gather daily makes it nice to always have some resources to refine for those two alts dedicated to refining. And they do have premium because you need focus for being able to refine. I've got, let me go over the system here. Now, learn from my mistake. This absolutely drives me nuts that I didn't think about it ahead of time. But I had guild halls. I called it W Guild Hall 1 for my first one. Worked perfect, right? Witchcap Guild Hall 1. And then I was just going to stick with that naming scheme. You can name it whatever you want. But when I got all the way up to 9 and I decided to do 10 because I didn't go 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, well, 10 and 11 popped up to the top here for the second digit. So that was really frustrating. I had to reorganize all of my laborers so that way they pan out accordingly. And now 10 and 11 are technically my first islands that I visit, and 9 is my 11th island that I finish at the end there, just for cascading purposes in this drop down menu. So let's go ahead and go over to the first guild hall. And it's only a tier 7 guild. I shouldn't say only. It's a tier 7 guild hall. I don't have everything at tier 8. Let me just talk about that real quick before I walk in. The reason I've got tier 6 journals here is because this is a tier 7 Tinkerer guild hall. I've got 15 Tinkerers inside. They're all tier 8 laborers, that doesn't matter. What matters for the purpose of the return rate on your resources is what level the guild hall is. So if you have a tier 7 guild hall, fully capped out with beds, tables, and the trophies, then your maximum return rate that you can get is if you feed them one tier lower of a journal, you'll get 150 resource return rate. So throwing in that tier 6 Tinkerer journal there, you can see I've got 150%. Go over to manage. I don't even have capped out happiness here on the trophies, but I still make that 150% return rate. That is the maximum you can get. So that's what I've bothered with. We'll talk about the tier 8 haul here in a second. And let me just quickly get through this guild hall. I've got two tier 7 Tinker guild halls, one tier 8, and we'll talk about the tier 8 guild hall when I get to it. So we're just gonna, and this is a lot slower to do on the computer. If you guys have a mobile phone, I highly recommend logging over to your mobile phone to do your laborers, because you can see I'm sitting here, I've got to move my mouse across the entire screen, click the journal, click accept, click the journal, click accept, and it's gonna take me quite a bit of time to throw these journals at these guys. Not terribly long, but if you're on a mobile phone, you can actually use your left and right thumbs to accept the journal, double click the journal with your right thumb, and then accept to give them work again with your left thumb. And it really does shave about 10 minutes off of this whole process. So I've got, you only need 3 tables. It's 5 laborers per table, and there's 15 laborers in here, so that makes 3 tables. You need 15 beds for each laborer that you have, so there's 15 laborers, that means 15 beds. And then you need 5 of each trophy up to the tier of the guild hall that you're at. So I've got tier 2 through tier 7 generalist trophies. All you need is the generalist trophies for these for the for the resource laborers. When you actually get to the resource laborers, I'm sorry, the crafting laborers. I said resources, I meant to say crafting. When you get to the resource laborers, they do have special journals that do help boost your return rate a little bit more. But I haven't even bothered with that because as long as you stick with the tier down trick, you will always get 150% with that setup. So this is another one in the same. We just got to quickly blow through this. And you can see how I've got them set up specifically. I've got them in this chess L, so to speak, the way the horse moves in chess, just to make it easy to come in, take all the materials, and quickly give them their journals. If I wasn't a boomer and I knew how to record on my cell phone, I would just do it on my cell phone, but all my recording software and video editing stuff is on my computer, so it's sake of ease for my boomer self just to do it on my computer.
Ready to leave? Let's go.
And you can pay attention to the total money down there. I started out with 7.6, somewhere there about cost of journals. I'm now at 7.9, so I made a little bit of money off the tier 6 tinkerers, right? Um, the money really comes from when you craft with focus. So not only did I make a little bit of silver running those laborers, but crafting with focus is also the way to really make those resources go far. So here's your tier 8 guild hall. Everything's exactly the same. The only difference is when you're running tier 8 journals in a tier 8 guild hall, the max you're going to get is 120%. And how you get to that 120% is, the same tables, the same beds, the same trophies. But there's also these things called shark trophies, which adds five happiness to 10 laborers of the right kind. You need 2 of them because it's 10 and you've got 15. Sadly, there's no half a shark trophy. You just have to get 2 of them. And then you can boost yourself up to 120% happiness. Now, there is one more item in the game that boosts laborer happiness, but it only boosts the happiness of one laborer by 5, and that's called the Explorer's Spyglass. I do have one of them. I will show it to you when I get to my Tinkerer Guild Hall, or not my Tinkerer, my Imbuer Guild Hall, because those are the most expensive journals at the moment, so those are the books that I do fill myself. The rest of them I buy. But the spyglass is like 5 million silver or something like that. So if you were to buy 15 of them, you're not going to pay off those spyglasses for probably as long as you play the game. They're really not worth it anymore. They're an explorer item, so I believe they were on release or even beta players were the ones that got those. And because there's a limited supply, they no longer are introduced into the game. They are just extremely expensive at this point in time. So the spyglass is just not worth it.
Welcome, traveler.
We're going to go to the second guild hall here. This is going to be another tier 8 guild hall. This is for my imbuers. So I do fill 30 journals. 10k focus with max spec cloth crafting gets me about 30 imbuer journals every single day. Because I'm on the computer, it's actually easier. I typically, as I go through here, I got lucky. I got a 0.3. That's a nice chunk of change. Um, It's easier to give and take on the cell phone, but I like to take and then give all in one swath when I'm doing it on the computer. Let me give all of these journals to these guys. You can notice that they've got that extra 0.5% for this one. That's because that spyglass is in this hall, and it's really just not worth it, in my opinion. Doing this for several years now at this point, I really wouldn't say there would be much of a difference for a couple added extra percent. It does add up over time. Anyways, this is the Explorer's Spyglass. Adds 5 happiness to 3 laborers. Oh, I'm sorry, you wouldn't need 15. You would need 5 of these things to max out. I believe that might be another 5% then for easy math there. So you could get up to a maximum of 125%. 5% actually wouldn't be bad, but I don't know if it's worth the investment. Let's see, does this thing have an estimated item cost? I'm going to go ahead and pick it up because then I can place it back down, not change. So 10.3 million now for these spyglasses. That's just for one of them, and you would need 5 of them. So for 50 million silver, you can add an extra 5% or 2.5. I don't know if I'm doing the math right. It's early in the morning. So I've got one of them because I bought it a long time ago, and I think it was several million silver back then. Now they've just gone exponential. And with the upcoming
Ready to roll.
changes that SBI's announced to the laborer
Hold
system,
straight.
I would just, if anything, only get to a tier 7 guild hall. I wouldn't even push it to a tier 8 guild hall. I would just kind of wait and see what happens with the whole laborer system. That way you don't spend, I think it's 80 million silver just for the 900 blocks it takes to build a guild hall. And let's talk about that real quick. How did I actually get all of these guild halls? Well, SBI announced free to play several years ago, and what that means is you can create as many accounts as you want. And in order to place a guild hall, you don't even need to have premium. You just need to have a character with an account, create a guild, and that's the naming scheme that I came up with on my list. That drop down list where it says W Guild Hall 1 through 12, those are all the guild names themselves. So I have actually made guilds named Witchcap Guild Hall 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So that way they fall, their names are organized in my drop down list. And then I've just favorited the islands to make them go to the top. Now you've got 3 characters. You have to get each character through the tutorial initially, and then you can skip the next 2. And I like to keep each character
Pocket gets
associated
ready.
with its guild. You can actually create a guild
Get
hall,
on.
make yourself co-owner to that guild hall, and then turn around and leave that guild. That guild hall and guild island will still, I'm sorry, I've said guild hall this entire time. I'm referring to the guild island itself. Um, that guild island will still be there as long as you've got one person co-owner to the island. So if you don't really feel like having an individual character associated with each guild island, I do, just in case for whatever reason I need to move the island in the future. You're gonna need the original owner of the guild to be able to do that. I don't think the co-owner can do that. But if you trust where you've got your laborers and you never want to move them in the future, then you can go ahead and delete that, drop that guild, create another guild in 72 hours, and go through that whole process to create your guild halls so you don't have to have multiple accounts to do so. Um, let's see, where else was I going with that though? I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to say in regards to guild hall creation.
Ready to leave?
4,
Let's go.
5, da da da, da 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 da. Yeah, I'm just gonna take them all. And so you've noticed I've dropped back down from tier 8 journals to tier 6. This is only a tier 7 guild hall. It's taken me, I'm still working on it. I've played this game since a couple months after official release. Didn't start this whole guild hall system until I actually At the free to play happened because I wasn't gonna buy a whole bunch of accounts to be able to do this. And I used to do the whole housing laborer system. But when you've got laborers and houses, you only have 3 laborers per house, and they're spread out all over the place. You spend so much time running from laborer house to laborer house. It's a huge time sink every day, and it's very easy to get burnt out. As it stands, 10 minutes on my mobile phone running these guild halls gets taxing enough. I couldn't even imagine trying to do this every day
We
for
will set
45
precedent.
minutes. I would quit. I would
Here.
just be like, I'm done with it. Or you get a slave to run them for you. Say like, hey, I'll give you 1,000,000 silver a day if you run all my journals for me. Which in the past I've actually done. I've had someone who I rented out my farms to them, so they did all the farming on my plots, and then they would run my journals for me as payment. It was a nice little time period where I could just have hands off. But that person no longer plays the game because they got burnt out of doing all the farms and the daily journal giving. Also, with that method, you have to make sure that you have a trustworthy person. Oh, I don't want to pick that up. Now, you don't have to follow this specific layout. If you have a different idea that would work better for you. Oh, there's another point 0.3. I'll take it. I'm getting lucky with the point 0.3s today. So we're up to 10 mil now from about 7.6 total. So we've made 2.4, no, 3.4, 2.4. I can't do math. Math is hard. Need more coffee.
Where you headed? Hold
2.4
tight.
mil just on resources, collecting them. Keep in mind that does include the empty journals. The empty journals are a pretty substantial part of that return. Oh, it takes so long.
I can get you anywhere. Up on.
In regards to the Twitch chat going on right now, it's because I am going to be using this for a YouTube video. I'm not going to answer your questions until I'm completely done, because there's going to be a portion of this for these last laborer hauls that I'm just going to speed up so the video doesn't take as long as I do this. Um, and then I also wanted to just talk about specifically what I was doing. So I will review your guys' questions here just after I finish this last guild hall.
Welcome, traveler. Get on.
All right, and there we go. That
Looking for safe
covers
passage?
all the guild islands that I run daily for laborers. Oh
Let's
man,
go.
running it on the computer is not fun, I'll tell you what. If you've got a cell phone, you definitely want to do that. It really does take me only about a little under 10 minutes if I'm quick with my fingers, depending on how tired I am in the morning when I start to run these journals. Highly do recommend using your cell phone to run through it all. So just going back through now at this point, I'm going to drop off all of the... I should have gotten a total silver estimate. Anyways, I made a couple mil. I'll chalk it up to a couple mil, give or take a little bit. But then I do have those raw tier sixes that I use my refiners to also go through, so I do make a little bit of profit off that as well. That mostly goes towards crafting and studying anything that I want to improve my crafting spec in. So I personally don't make money on that tier six, but if you're looking for profit, it's a good way to boost your little profit there. Oh, that doesn't go there. So this is kind of I'm doing this on stream as well too, on recording, so that way you guys can also see the organization system, which kind of just helps expedite put things away. Also gives you insight into how much resources I actually have stored up as well, ready for that fame week. A lot of this is going to be empty if that fame week comes back around with the CTA release. And all of these in there. And I will get those other journals at a later date because I don't really care. There you go. Guild Island for storage system, Guild Islands for laborers. Gotta love free to play release. Great way to make some extra money. Hopefully that gave you guys, you future crafters and future laborer taskmasters, some insight into how to efficiently do some laborers. Feel free to leave any comments in the YouTube video section, and I will check back and answer any questions you guys might have. I've had this question come up several times on stream, how I do my laborers, and hopefully that gives you guys some insight. So thanks for watching, and yeah, good luck. All right. I'll just I'm turning on that screen so that way it gives me the end marker for the video, and I'll go back and I'll do all the editing later, speed it up where it's boring, and cut out where I probably go or you can hear me drinking coffee in the background. So let me go back through your questions here, guys. So I guess putting a tier 8 labor in a tier 6 house won't get us any profit because they will work with lower yield. So to answer that question for you, the tier 8 labor, the level of labor doesn't matter at all. It only matters that it actually matches the tier of the book that you're giving them. So if you've got tier 6 books, and then you need to give it to a tier 6 laborer. You won't be able to give a tier 6 book to a tier 5 laborer, just to a tier 6 and above. There are so many tier 8 laborers in the game, there's no reason not to just straight up go buy tier 8 laborers. Sometimes you can find them cheaper, and giving them journals will level them up over time, or you can place your own and go through the tiers using generalist books. But for the most part, you might as well just skip straight to the end and buy the tier 8 laborers. As long as you're not getting absolutely demolished by the price, someone might try and price gouge you in that regards. But it has absolutely nothing to do with the actual labor level itself, that the level of the labor, the tier 8, whatever. Let me just go back
Ready to
to
leave?
my tier 8 guild hall island,
Hold
and
tight.
I'll show you. What matters for the yield outcome is the level of the house. So in order to get 150% max return rate on tier 7 stuff, you need a tier 8 guild hall with tier 8 beds and all the way up to tier 8 journals and 2 shark trophies. Actually, you don't even need the shark trophies if you're only feeding them tier 7 journals. Um, because your whole goal is to get that happiness as high as it can possibly get. And once you get 400, 440, then it's 30 without the sharks, and the reason I have that one tick there is because of the spyglass. So if your hope your video becomes viral, so my blocks will skyrocket in price. I appreciate it, Supa. What did you think of the video? Was it well done? Should I redo it? Did I cover all of the points in regards to laborer guild halls? Did it sound good enough to you guys? Was it easy to follow? This is going to be my first YouTube video that I'm actually um oh, let me turn my AFK screen off for you actually now I've got my marker. That's more than enough. Um so in regards to the happiness, you max out